Interesting. Now, every time we are creating a file, it's giving the same file name. What if we want different file names for every time? The different file names meaning like. What if we have a sequence like file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4, and so on? In that case, it will not get overwritten, isn't it? Because if I run this file again, if I run the integration again, what will happen? It will create another file with the same name, d'employee details. The problem if we are writing it to a folder. Every time we write to a folder, it will overwrite the previous file, which is a problem. So in real world, what we do have is we have unique file names for every run of the integration. Every time we run the file around the integration, it should create a file with a unique name. So for that we have an option called Create ID Definition or Sequence Generator. Create ID Definition Sequence Generator. That is the option that we will take. We have to give it a name. Let's call it as YYBSequen. YYBSequence Generator. Okay. So then, how are you going to increment the sequence? Let me increment it by 1. So my first file will be 1, the second file will be 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. Right, that will be the file name. Then what is the format you are going to use? I'm going to use d'employee details. This will be the fixed part. So every file will start with this. And can I put the date and timestamp to it? That makes it unique, right? If I put the date and time. So if I generate one file today versus if I generate a file tomorrow, the file name will be different because I will have the date and time with it, right? So if I go here, you see, just put the mouse pointer over this field and it tells you how you have to write the file name format. Right. You see, it gives you the hint. Each pattern needs to be surrounded by square brackets, and it gives you the variables that you have to use for each pattern. So if I want to use the years 2022, I have to give YYYY. Okay. If I want to use the month, I have to give capital M. If I want to use a date, I have to give lowercase d. But you see, I am putting everything within square brackets. Then I'll give an underscore and I will use capital SEQ for my sequence. Okay. And the moment I am writing this, you are seeing something. It is WorkDay is creating this template and sequence for you. The example sequence. Okay. So this is how the date will look like. This is how the file name will look like. WD employee details. Underscore 2022 0425. Underscore 0. Right. So let me put a .csv at the end as well. Right, so this will be your complete file name. So every time you run it, it will generate a unique file name. Right. If you want to put the hours and the minutes as well, that is also allowed. Just put it within square brackets, HH. Right. And then you put lowercase m for minutes. And you can also put SS for seconds. Right. So now 083919. It is as per the system time. 083919. OK. Click OK. Right. So we have created our sequence generator. Now we have to use it in our integration. Right. This is our integration. So how do we use it? So first we will go to the related actions, we will go to integration and, enterprise interface. Edit. And where should we use it? In the deliver section. Correct. Because that is where we are going to have dynamic file names. So I'm going to go to this Workday attachment thing. I'm going to edit it. Scroll down, expand the details section. Sequence generator for file name. Sequence generator for file name. So we have created our sequence generator. It is right here. WWEIB sequence generator. So we are going to use it. Click OK. Right. So you go to the details section and there we have to use it. Okay, what is the error now? Oh, okay. Sorry, the data could not be found. Let me refresh the page. Now it's happy. All right. So now, what are we doing? Workday attachment. This is a default file name, but we are using a sequence generator to give us dynamic file names. So let me show you how to get a dynamic file name every single time. So you go to the related actions and you go to integration and you launch. Okay, we launch the integration. Run now. That is fine. And here it asks you for the file name. If I use system default, what would be the file name? Any guesses? If I use system default, it will be the WD employee details. It will not use the date and timestamp sequence number, whatever. So for that we have to make a small tweak. That tweak is, you have to say, determine value at runtime. Okay. Determine value at runtime. So what would be the value? Say next. Next. Just start with next. So it brings the field. Next sequence for integration, file utility. It will create the next sequence. Right. So two things I changed. One is determine value at runtime and then next sequence for integration file utility. Now click OK. Alright. Let me scroll down a little bit. It's still running, but do you see the file name that it is going to create? Right. Isn't it unique? It has the date. It has the time. It also has _1. Next time I create a file, it will put the date and time and also it will be _2. Let me show it to you. So every time I will have it, I will have a different name. Okay. So it is completed. Processing. Look at the output file. Look at the file name. WD employee details datetime .1.csv. Let me save this. Right, I'll save this file in the same location. Now I will launch the integration one more time. So I will go to the related actions of the integration. Integration launch. OK. How to get the dynamic file name? Can anyone help me? Can anyone remember? How to get the dynamic file name? What changes do I have to make here? In this option, determine value. Determine value, determine that runtime. Perfect. And what is the value? Next sequence. Next. Next. Right. Next, just search with next. That is fine. Next sequence for integration file utility. Right. Just search with next and it will find it for you. Now, if I click on OK. Alright, I'll scroll down. Is the file name different? Yes, right, 2022.0.25. This part is the same because the date has not changed. The time has changed. Right. And also the sequence has changed. It was 1. Now it is 2. Okay. So I will wait for it to finish. I think it has finished already. So, if you go to the output files, here is the output file. I have saved it now. Let me show it to you in the folder. Right. 2 different files. The previous one was 08. 8.4. 249. The next one is 8.4. 428. Right, the time has changed. And then, of course, the sequence is different. _1. _2. So now we have ensured that we are not going to overwrite the file. It's going to be a different file. At least the file name is going to be different every time we run the file. Correct. So that is what it is. That is what the sequence generator, or the ID definition, will allow us to do. And how did I create it? I went ahead and used the task. Create ID definition sequence generator.